bury you or borrow you. I'm going to say it again. Your family is either going to bury you or borrow you. Everything that we do in this life is nothing but borrowed success. I'll give you an example. Okay, the sweet potato pie. If any of y'all who has ever had sweet potato pie? Okay. Who remembers that grandmother ever making sweet potato pie for them? Anybody remember that? Okay. So did you know that it was nothing but borrowed success? Because the sweet potato, Patti LaBelle did not come up with it. No, she did not. The sweet potato did not come from Patti LaBelle. It came from George Washington Carver. So that goes to tell me that the borrowed success from George Washington Carver was passed down to your grandmama who made that sweet potato pie. Because he, what, discovered the sweet potato. Okay, them choke sandwiches y'all eating with the peanut butter and jelly? Peanut butter? That's borrowed success. Why? Because George Washington Carver did what? The peanut. So everything, you may think you're doing it new. You may think you have discovered it, but no, that's what time does for us, because you're either going to get buried or borrowed. So your question today is, am I going to allow my family to borrow me or bury me? Just because you are in here does not mean that your family cannot borrow you. Does not mean that you can't make a difference. Does not mean that your voice can't be heard. I've seen a lot of talent in here one day, and it's blowing my mind. Just because you are in here, we can't let that talent go to the graveyard. No, because why? You got some borrowed success you got to pass down. We can't bury you. Y'all some intelligent men up in here. Don't allow yourself to get buried. Allow somebody to borrow you. I don't care if it's teaching these young men who are just coming in here, who are 18, 19, whatever age they are coming up in here. You got to teach them. You got to show them the way that they need to learn how to be borrowed for success. Borrowed for success. So this 86,400 seconds in a day. So we got to think about this thing called time. Okay? So time, I like to break down the time and show you the numbers on the clock. When you think about time, you got your shorthand. And that shorthand stays, it moves, but it stays, it goes a little slower because those represent your moments. And everything that you are doing in a moment has everything to do what you did in a moment. So whatever you are doing in this moment had a result of what you decide to do in a moment. So your seconds are very important. Let me tell you why 86,004, that's the most important number pattern that will ever be in your life. And I'm going to explain to you why. 86,400 seconds. You can change your life in a second. A lot of you are in here because you changed your life for a second. Not minute. Minutes aren't important because you got a little time longer to think about it. Hours are not important because why? They go by a little slower. Seconds are detrimental because they can change your life. Your life can be changed in a matter of seconds. Your life can be changed in a minute or an hour. But most people make the wrong choices and decisions in a matter of what? Seconds. You can all think and go back on memory lane right now and think of something that you were rushed into. In a matter of seconds. And it's where you are right now. So in that clock, it lets me know that those hands that are going around, you can let that just waste if you want to. We got a clock right there. And one thing about that clock right there, it's producing, that hand that keeps on moving is producing momentum. That's your momentum. And the numbers represent you. Every point in your life is going to be, everything that you do is going to wrap around time. So it's up to you to either waste it, it's up to you to make something out of it. I don't know about you, but I look at some of these men today, they getting borrowed. They get borrowed for success. They're not allowing their circumstance to put them in the grave. See, your mind right here, that's what we teach. We teach about mental incarceration and self-imprisonment. So if you allow your mind to go, the body's going to follow. I don't care about what you've done. I'm not here to judge you. I'm here to help you change. We're not here to judge you. One thing about it, we keeping it real with y'all today. We keeping it real with y'all because you can't help nobody being fake. You can't help nobody being fake. The stories that y'all are getting ready to hear, you can't help nobody being fake. It's all about being real. You cannot help anybody being fake. So the stories y'all are getting ready to hear at this very moment all came from what these ladies did in a moment. We just rounded up to seconds. That's why 86,400 seconds are so important. And I'm going to leave y'all with a demonstration. When I was younger, my mother used to always tell me, Tiffany, make up your bed. And I didn't understand what she meant by that. And I want to say something to you guys. I want you to repeat after me. Say, a made-up bed is a made-up mind. A made-up bed is a made-up mind. So my mother used to say, Tiffany, gonna make up your bed. I was like, no, I don't want to make up my bed, Mom. I was thinking that she wanted me to keep my room clean. It had nothing to do with that. What Mother was trying to teach me was how to have some organizational skills at the age of 5. How to complete something and be successful, even if it just meant waking up, making up my bed on time. I would end up being successful to do all the other things correctly. So now it made a lot of sense that a made-up bed is a made-up mind. And you know, some of y'all are sleeping in what we call our little palace, where you're in kindergarten, where you don't want to grow up, and you start from a crib stage. You still want to be in a crib, and then you go to the pallet. And in the pallet stage, you're just learning who you are. You're learning on what you want to do. Then we get to the sleeping bag stage, which like kind of represents our adolescent years. So I'm gonna go slow so you can write this down. So we start off with a crib. Write down crib. And the title of this is a made-up man, is a made-up mind. I'm trying to show y'all the stages of life here. Okay? So we start off with a crib. In that crib is kind of like our birthing stage. It's like we're babes. We're trying to learn who we really, really are in a crib stage. Our dreams are not even manifesting yet because a lot of us, when we got locked up, we were locked up in a stage. Some of you were locked up in a stage where you were still a boy. So therefore, you can either be 40 right now, still trapped in a 15-year-old mindset if that's what you want. Because a lot of you, when you got locked up, you were young. Right? So crib stage. From the crib stage, we go to the sleeping bag. How many of you remember kindergarten when you lay in a sleeping bag in a mat? Well, that's when you begin to meet friends and socialize. You begin to understand who you were. Just a itsy bit. You start looking at around you, and that represents the palette. So once we get in the palette stage, we can't go back to the crib. Okay, so if we can't go back to the crib, we got to learn how to work with what we're working with the palette stage. But there comes a time that you got to leave the palette stage and you got to go to the sleeping bag stage. See, the sleeping bag stage represents your adolescent years. Say adolescent. So in your adolescent year, you're just trying to find out who you are. You're trying to fit in where you get in. You're trying to make it. You're trying to fake it till you make it. You're trying to discover who you are. And some of you are still trapped in your sleeping bag stage. But you got to understand, when you're in the sleeping bag stage, you can't go back to the crib. And from the pallet, you can't go back to the okay, because wow, we look like oxymorons if we try to do that. So then from the pallet stage, we hit that sleeping bag stage. From the sleeping bag stage, now we go to the twin bed. Say the twin bed. Now I like to think of the twin bed as college days, where you shack up and you find out who your girlfriend is, and you're playing around with your dreams, and you're not really caring where you're going. Oh, life is just fun. You know, I got time to grow up. Next thing you know, in the twin bed stage, you're like 20, 21, 22. You're trying to find out who you are. But at this age, we begin to not follow the pattern of what it means to grow up. So here we're in this twin bed. From the twin bed, you can't go back to the from the sleeping bag, you can't go back to the from the pallet, you can't go back to the because a made-up bed is a made-up mind. So now from that twin bed, we go to the full-size bed. See, now from a full-size bed, that represents your age about you're about 23, 25, 26. And you're saying to yourself, dang, I ain't doing nothing but laying in the bed. I'm wasting my time and I'm looking silly here because a lot of us are still in that mindset. Some still in the crib. But we got to understand, from the full-size bed, we can't go back to the from the twin bed, you can't go back to the from the sleeping bed, you can't go back to the from the pallet, you can't go back to the grow up. God is saying grow up, or whoever your higher power is saying it's time to grow up. Now from the full-size bed, you have to develop into the queen-size bed. Say queen-size bed. From the queen-size bed, you're like 26, 27, 28 begin to start feeling small. Because what? Now things are starting to outgrow you and you haven't even caught up. Why? Because you won't let your mind catch up. So we can't go from the queen bed to the... Can't go from the fool to the... Can't go from the twin to the... Can't go from the sleeping bag to the... Can't go from the pilot to the... It's time to grow up. A made up bed is a made up mind. Now we telling ourselves from that queen size bed, we now developing to the king size bed. Now I'm a king, I'm a boss. I'm a boss. I'm a king. I'm a boss. You a boss in a crib. Because your mind is not developing into that king size bed. You still think you're a pimp. You're 50 years old. Life is already halfway gone. 86,400 seconds in a day, man. I ain't playing with you. From the king size bed, we can't go back to the... From the queen size bed, you can't go back to the... From the four, you can't go back to the... From the twin, you can't go back to the... From the sleeping bag, you can't go back to the... From the pilot, you can't go back to the... From the crib, you back in your mama's womb, and we sure can't do that. So a made up bed is a made up mind. It's time to grow up. Now, I guess you say, dang, Tiffany, how many beds you going to? Now we got a bunk bed. Now you're sharing your problems with other folks because you ain't grown up. Now you're splitting in two ways. You want to blame people for your situation and the things that you're going through, but in all reality, you were born by yourself, you're going to die by yourself, so who are we trying to please and prove? 86,400 seconds. From the bunk bed, I can't go to the... From the king size, I can't go to the... From the queen, I can't go to the... From the what? Keep going. From the what? From the what? From the what? Can't go back to your mama's womb. Can't go back. Now the next bed we stuck with is the hospital bed. At this point in time, you're like 80, 90 years old. Man, we ain't did nothing but slept our life away. We ain't did nothing but blame people for our decisions and the choices that we made in a moment, in a second. So from the hospital bed, you can't go back to the... From the bunk bed, you can't go back to the... Keep going. It's time to what? A made up bed is a... So the next thing you face when you like 80 or 90 years old, the next thing is the dead bed. I have just walked you through a situation that if you don't change that thing, it's going to go with you. Time is going to waste. I just gave you a narrative, a mental picture without no thoughts about the thing. See, but everybody looked at me as this sophisticated beauty queen that had it going on, but they didn't know I was hurt and had this lifestyle. So as I began to hurt, I began to like deteriorate in spirit. And God said, I want you to reflect on the times that you run track. And he said, you used to be on the 4x100, the 4x400. I used to be the first leg on both. I mean, I was really, really good. I had the opportunity to train for the 2008 Olympic Games. And I was just like, oh my gosh, Lord, I never saw it this way. So one thing he said, you got to look at your life as a relay race. Come here, young man. He said, Tiffany, your first leg is your starter. See, y'all got to have some people, come around this way. Y'all got to have some people who knows how to get things started. See, because if you got somebody around you that know how to get things started, your momentum will begin to pick up. See, your first leg when you run track, and if you're on a 4x1 or 4x4, they get things started. They set the momentum. And he said, Tiffany, then you got to pull yourself together. You got to have somebody that can understand that second leg. Come here. Yeah. Come on, don't be shy. Don't be shy. See, your second leg, I want you to visualize your second leg. Okay, so your second leg when you run track, stand right here. Right here, like this. Okay, so your second leg, right? Your second leg runs that long stretch. You gotta have somebody that's willing to stretch for you. That's willing to go the distance for you. He already did that over 2,000 years ago. But this stretch, when you're running on that stretch is like the longest part of the relay. You gotta have somebody that has that strength for you to help you pull your way through. Then he showed me. He said, now the third situation. Now I can throw you a curve, you're going to get out of that thing. Because mentally, you got your mind made up that nothing's going to stop you while you in here trying to chase after your dream. Come on. It ain't going to stop you. Come on. And then last, come on, man, my man. Come on. You got an anchor. An anchor. An anchor. An anchor. Now, an anchor is somebody that brings it on home. Say, bring it home. See, an anchor strong. You can't break no anchor. The anchor done been through all these legs. They understand how to run this race. They understand how to run this race. They done been on the starting line and the finish. They get it. They know how to bring it home. So God said, Tiffany, I walked through all these stages of life. And one thing about track and field, come on, man, when you're trying to run, how you gonna run doing this? You're gonna keep losing the race. But he says, I gave you permission on the 4x1 and the 4x400. The only time you looking back is to bring your brother with you. Stick. Stick. I'm passing it off to you. 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 The only time y'all are allowed to look back is to bring somebody else up. That's fine. Good job, Tiffany. All the time. All the time. Bring up the read. Only time. So before I sit down, I just want you to repeat this, and I'm gonna take my seat. Say a made-up bed is a made-up mind. There are 86,400 seconds in a day. How will you choose yours? I'm Tiffany Love, the spiritual bell bonds woman.